Hello and welcome to the very first ever Out of the Closet podcast. I am your host, comedian Andrew Pettke. Thank you so much for tuning in to our very first debut podcast event. Thank you so much. Out of the Closet podcast is a fun, gay, and informative lifestyle show hosted by me, Andrew Pettke, and we are going to be broadcasting every week out of the closet. Literally, I'm honestly inside of a closet right now. Me and my husband's closet, my husband and I, we have this awesome little small closet. You can step in about 2 feet, and that's where I'm broadcasting out of today. From laughs to interviews to games with special guests to fashion to all things LGBTQ AI plus, we are going to handle it all, everything gay friendly, to highlighting special organizations doing some amazing things in their community, to information and opinions. This show is going to be full of amazing information, big laughs, and over-the-top fun. So thank you so much for tuning in. Now, you can always follow us on any of our social media channels. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can find us at Podcast OOTC. That's Podcast OOTC. OOTC stands for Out of the Closet, of course. You can find us there. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're all there. And if you want to take a look inside the closet, you can actually see what's going on. This is not just a podcast, but this is a vodcast, baby. That's right. You can get video. Just go onto our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see everything inside the closet that's going on, including outfits. I'll be wearing different outfits for all sorts of different things. So you can see the outfits I'm wearing each week, and it's going to be amazing. So anyway, if you have any information, or if you want more information, rather, you can go on to outoftheclosetpodcast.com. I know that's a lot of information to swallow, but just go on to outoftheclosetpodcast.com, and you can find all the places we broadcast as well as our YouTube channel. All right, today, this is our very first show. I'm so excited about it because today on First, we have an amazing pair of guests. Today, we have two amazing guests, Justin YODER and Patrick THOMPSON. They're an amazing married couple that started LGBT Outdoors. LGBT Outdoors is an organization that encourages and enables members of the LGBTQ AI plus community to get outdoors and connect with nature and the world around them while breaking down the stereotypes within our community. And we'll discuss how these guys grew up in a relatively conservative household, religious households, how they met, they got married, and how they started this incredible organization. And they'll tell you about their large outdoor camping event that's coming up called LGBT OUTDOORFEST 2021. All right, they are welcoming family from all across the nation for a fully packed weekend of camping, kayaking, hiking, education, community, connecting with nature, and more. All right, and then at the end of that segment, we're going to play a fun game called Would You Pin? Sorry, the game is going to be called Would You Pitch a Tent Over This? And we're going to see if the boys will pitch a tent over some people and some things. And then you want to stay tuned because my best friend of over 30 years, almost 35 years, Doug, is going to be joining me right here inside the closet for a very special, I would say back in the closet, for a very special and slippery segment called our Flavored Lube Taste Test. That's right. We're going to be the guinea pigs for you all. So we'll do all the hard work. We're going to taste some flavored lubes, and all you have to do is sit back, relax. We're going to tell you the ones to try, the ones to avoid, and the one that you want to stay away from all together. Believe me. All right. It's going to be a hilarious time. This segment is definitely going to contain some graphic content, so please be advised. This ain't for no prudes. It's all about lubes, okay? After all that craziness, I also want to tell you about an amazing charity doing incredible things for the gay community. They are using proceeds from a thrift store to provide free AIDS tests, patients, and programs to assist homeless. And they're doing great work. And their stores are clean, well organized, and fun to shop. And then finally, if all of that wasn't enough, I'm going to wrap up the show and teach you a weekly gay history lesson. That's right. I'm going to teach you a little gay history. All right. Each week, you may learn something new about our LGBTQ AI plus community that you never knew. All right. This week, I'm going to cover the HANKY code. What's the HANKY code, you ask? Well, you'll have to listen for the full segment, but I'll teach you how I'll teach you the whole HANKY code. I'll teach you, it's also called sometimes the handkerchief code, sometimes the bandana code. But anyway, it is basically a code that allow you to show someone what you're into sexually without ever having to even speak to them. Okay. It's all about secrecy and signaling. And I can't wait to tell you about that gay history class, which is going to be in session soon. So stay up and stay tuned for that. Stick around. We're going to have an amazing time on this podcast. In fact, I hope you really get involved. I'd love to hear from you. Ideas for the show or anything you'd like to hear, just shoot me an email anytime at andrew@outoftheclosetpodcast.com. That's andrew@outoftheclosetpodcast.com. And please subscribe and follow our social media channels by searching for Podcast OOTC. That's Podcast OOTC, Out of the Closet. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Again, I'm your host, Andrew Pettke, and I'll be with you for this entire ride. So thank you so much. Without further ado, let's get started with our amazing first guest. We'll get started right now. Here we go for Out of the Closet podcast, baby. Hey, before we get started with that awesome interview, I want to kind of tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Andrew Pettke. I am a comedian out of now Santa Monica, California. I was originally born in Texas of all places, Dallas, Texas, and lived there pretty much my entire life, but now just recently moved out to Santa Monica, and I'm broadcasting live out of the closet. I'm literally inside of my husband and I's fantastic closet. It's okay. They said it was a walk-in closet, but let's be honest, you can walk in about 2 steps. That's it. If you log on to outoftheclosetpodcast.com, you'll be able to see both cameras. Okay. I have 2 cameras in this closet, so you can see 2 different angles. Not that you need that, but you could if you wanted to. I have it available. You can look inside of our closet. I'm going to be wearing different outfits every time when it's safe to do so. And I have guests here in the closet with me. It's going to be a lot of fun because we are going to pack into this closet. Okay. And in the closet, just to kind of describe what I'm looking at right now, we have 2 different sides of the closet. Like I said, it's not too huge of a closet. One side has all of my husband's stuff on it. The other side has all of my stuff. All of his stuff has a lot of sequins and bells and whistles, awesome shoes. I've got a little bit of that. But anyway, I'm going to be trying on different outfits every week so you can see what I'm wearing. And also, you'll want to check out some of the other things that's going on in this crazy closet. Behind me, for instance, I have a drag queen fan that's up here. You hear these all the time at gay clubs clacking away. This is actually from our friend Cassie Nova, an amazing drag queen out of Dallas. She actually married Naveen and I, my husband and I. So that's pretty amazing. And this is her fan here. We have Mystica Masala. You may or may not have ever seen me on TV, but if you did, you might have seen me on the Great Food Truck Race. We are the winners of the Great Food Truck Race season 12 with our team called Mystica Masala. So that's what that little logo is in the background right there. Mystica Masala was an Indian Tex-Mex food truck that we had my husband playing the part of Mystica Masala, which is a drag queen, an Indian drag queen. And we basically toured all over the West Coast with Food Network. We got to go in, I think, 6 different cities. And then at the end of it, myself, my husband, and our business partner and friend, Sarah, won $50,000. So it was a pretty freaking amazing experience and all that. Before the food truck experience, I owned restaurants. We had 4 successful restaurants in Dallas before COVID happened. COVID shut down all 4 restaurants, unfortunately. But the silver lining is here I am now on the West Coast where I think I belong. And we're doing this awesome podcast called Out of the Closet. So here we are. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys join me every week. This podcast will drop on Wednesday, right at midnight every week. So you should be able to get new information. Each week, I'm going to share some awesome interviews. We're going to have some fun games. You're going to learn something new about gay history. There's going to be a rotating segment that will be different and feature different people from all different types of places. So you'll have to tune in. Sorry, real quick. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening to my voice right now, you've made it through the first few minutes or so. So I really do appreciate that. And we're going to have a lot of fun on this show. And I really do. In the future, I want you to know I will be using this time. We'll have a monologue. I'll talk about current events, some of the politics, and those kind of things that are going on. But I just wanted to quickly introduce myself because I'm going to be the host of the Out of the Closet podcast, and you should know who I am. Again, I'm Andrew Pettke. And without further ado, now let's get started with our awesome first interview of Out of the Closet podcast. All right, on the show today, I'm joined by 2 amazing men, Justin YODER and Patrick THOMPSON. Now husbands, these two men both came up from conservative religious households, later coming out to their families as gay, meeting each other, and then eventually dating and eventually getting married. Both entrepreneurs, Justin previously ran a humanitarian NPO and is a successful published professional photographer in North Texas. And Patrick studied music at the University of North Texas and Berklee College of Music before starting his own business, a special event and production lighting company. Now the two have combined their creative forces and their love for the great gay outdoors and created LGBT Outdoors, an organization that encourages and enables members of the LGBTQAI plus community to get outdoors and connect with nature and the world around them while breaking down stereotypes towards LGBTQAI plus people. And their new exciting camping retreat weekend they're calling LGBT OUTDOORFEST is a fun-filled camping weekend for LGBTQAI plus people. They're going to have scheduled classes, activities, and chances to connect with others in the great gay outdoors. I'm so excited to welcome to the program, to the Out of the Closet podcast for the first time, Justin and Patrick to the show. Thank you guys. Welcome.
What's up, Andrew?
Hi, thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. Hey, I know we're going to get into talking about the LGBT outdoors, LGBT Outdoor Fest, but before that, I want to talk about you guys a little bit, kind of some of your history, how you guys grew up, and then we'll get into how you guys dated, and then talk about this amazing organization you two have built. So thank you guys for joining us on the show. And Justin, if you could kind of tell us about how you grew up, your upbringing, how your household was, and all that fun stuff.
Sure, I'll be glad to, and try to keep it as short as I can, because that's go on for about an hour just in itself. But I grew up in Missouri on my grandparents' farm. Always loved the outdoors. Nature was a big part of everyday life, really there. I knew that I was gay from a very young age, before puberty even, I just knew that I was different. There was something different about me, but grew up in a very conservative family. My dad actually grew up Amish, and so very conservative, and was always taught, gay people are going to hell. And so that wasn't anything I was going to share with anybody. And over time, I just kept that to myself. But I was who I was, and I still loved the outdoors and everything. I think it was 2001, I started a nonprofit that did AIDS and HIV relief work with kids in Africa. And that became my full-time job. Africa and photography was a big passion of mine since I was a little kid. And that was going great. I actually ended up marrying a woman during that time too. That didn't last long, which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But when we ended things and I came out, my board for that nonprofit decided I wasn't fit to run the nonprofit. So that got shut down. And was shortly after that I met Patrick. Still not out. This was 2010, beginning of 2010. And still wasn't out at this time. And it was really hard for me to try to reconcile my head with my heart. And he convinced me to go on a date with him. It took quite a bit of work, but through that first date, I really saw God all over it, which really even confused my mind and my heart even more. Just because, like, one little example of things that happened was there was a song on the radio that as I parked my car at his apartment complex, the lyrics was, like airplanes in the night sky, I could really use a wish right now. I turned off my car. I was like, God, I don't know about wishes, but I really could use some answered prayers. And that night, out of all the places that Patrick could have taken me on a date, we went to Bachman Lake, and all evening as we were having this picnic, airplanes were just landing at Love Field over our right over our head. Yeah. And it was just like God was like, hey, I'm in this. So that's kind of in a nutshell about how I grew up, and we ended up meeting through a mutual friend.
That sounds kind of crazy. I mean, especially coming up in that, I mean, talk about conservative household, the Amish. If you come up with your father being raised Amish, I'm sure that in itself was one thing. Then you're doing this humanitarian aid work, and doing what you think is the right thing, but then you're ousted out of that organization as well. So I'm sure, even accepting this first date felt risky,
Oh yeah.
to some level. And Patrick, how did that come about? I mean, how was your experience growing up? Was it kind of the same?
It's a little bit different. I started off kind of in a little bit more, definitely like conservative household, but more progressive in comparison. Grew up Episcopalian. Yeah, a little bit. I grew up Episcopalian / Lutheran.
Okay.
Which denominations right now are definitely on the progressive side. They weren't quite there in the mid 90s when I was growing up. This is also in kind of the height of like the AIDS pandemic.
Right.
So there was a lot of like fear and misinformation that my parents were absorbing at that time.
True. And I think that's true with all of our parents, growing up and especially raised the same time we were, our parents, that's all they heard. So that was their biggest fear. It seemed like, at least from my standpoint too.
Right. Absolutely. And in the middle of it, it was rough. Like they took me to like counseling. Like we're a very like faith-based family. I gotta tell the story. They took me to a counselor, literally like out in the middle of nowhere. We drive up. It's a log cabin. The guy is probably like 6'6", antlers on the wall, and I promise you, he had an eye patch.
He was a pirate. Conversion therapy.
Like full blown like macho testosterone kind of thing. And I had done some work in the youth group with my church, and he starts sparring with Bible verses, which is not how Bible verses are supposed to be used. And I fast forward, like I told that story because it's funny. It wasn't at the time, but fast forward many, many, many years later, like they are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I understand now that their reaction in the mid 90s when I was coming out was genuinely an act of love. It was misguided, it was misinformed, but their reaction was trying to protect me. And I recognize that it wasn't fun.
Right.
And I didn't see it at the time, but that's important for me to throw out there, because they are absolutely amazing. They've been so wonderful and inclusive with Justin. It's just been.
I like
amazing.
Mine for the record that it's still not accepting and refuses to meet Patrick or anything like that. So
I'm right there with you. And I have, my own family. I have family that's extremely supportive, and then I have some family that's not. And so I think it's important to always be thankful for and show appreciation to the people that have either come around or at least trying, because I do think that the great thing about maturity is it gives you a chance to step back and realize that, adults have flaws too, even your own parents. So, it's pretty awesome. Well, I know we have to take a quick 1-minute break real quick, but whenever we come back, I want to talk about how you guys met. I want to talk about that first date, and then how you guys ended up getting married. Okay. So we'll be right back in just 1 minute with more of Justin Yoder and Patrick Thompson.
It's Mystica Masala, owner of the most famous drag queen food truck and the winner of the Great Food Truck Race on Food Network. Now you can get my extremely tasty Mystica Masala spices and spice blends. The same spices we used in my award-winning dishes featured on Food Network, even my famous tikka masala blend and my savory and spicy tandoori blend. Plus, my free recipes on the back of every package. Just log on to dragfoodtruck.com. That's dragfoodtruck.com. Enter OOTC at checkout for 15% off.
Hey, it's Andrew. Do you have a business or a service that you would like to advertise on the Out of the Closet podcast? Well, if you do, I'd love for you to become a sponsor of the show. We can get your business in front of our amazing LGBTQAI+ and ally listeners who can't wait to hear all about your company. Plus, it's really super affordable. Right now, you can be included on 4 podcasts for just $250. Want to get started? Email me at andrew@outoftheclosetpodcast.com. Thank you.